Show. Let me ask you a couple of questions before we dive in today. Are you not as far along in your recovery as you think you should be? Has it been weeks or months or perhaps years longer than you thought, and you still don't feel like yourself again? Or perhaps you want to change some things up that could potentially help lower your risk for recurrence, but you're not quite sure where to start? Either way, today's episode is for you because I'm going to be sharing the correlation between forgiveness and your recovery. I'll be sharing a missing link that is rarely talked about when it comes to recovering after breast cancer. If we haven't yet met, I'm your host, Karin Maestro, your health, transformation, and calmness coach. I've been through breast cancer and I carry the BRCA2 genetic mutation, yet I am thriving, and you can too. So today's episode is for you if you want to learn how forgiveness affects your recovery. Let's get some cogs whirring here. I'm going to also be sharing the link between sweeping things under the rug, but not really, and breast cancer, and the first 3 steps to take to start forgiving so that you can begin this next stage of your life by letting go of what no longer serves you. Does that sound good? If that sounds good, I'm going to run right into it. If you are joining me live, please feel free to pop into the comments and say hi. I always love to see who's on with me today. Today we're talking about forgiveness and recovery, a missing link. Now let me ask you, what are you holding on to? What are you holding on to? A grudge? Words that you wanted to say but you didn't? Maybe you're feeling unvalidated, unloved, disrespected by loved ones who just don't get you or haven't or weren't capable of giving you what you wanted and deserved. Maybe you're holding on to a decision that you made in the past that you now regret or wish you'd made differently. Well, I want to welcome you to the human experience, right? None of us are perfect. And as we grow through life, things might reveal themselves differently than they appeared when we were in the thick of it, right? That's so often what happens. But if we hold on to these things, our bodies are keeping the score. There is a saying, our issues are in our tissues. Our body remembers every conversation, every feeling. And it's actually often why we might feel triggered by something, but not always realize why. This is why in my group coaching program, Thrivership School, we actually have a class called Your Body Speaks Your Mind, connecting those two things so that we can start to listen to our body and hear what it's saying. And when we know that where your mind goes, your energy flows, our mind, our thoughts, our feelings, all of the stuff that whirs around up here, right, directly impacts your energy level. So when we're stuck in this place of not forgiving, when we're stewing on something, when our minds are spinning on the coulda, woulda, shoulda kind of things, our energy is going out the window. And I know that our energy, especially after breast cancer, is one of the most precious things that we have, right? I think you'll agree with me there. If you agree with me, drop a 1 in the chat. And even if you're watching the replay, put hashtag replay and put a 1 in the chat. So let's take a look then, right? So how does forgiveness affect your recovery, right? It's because our body and our mind is holding on to these things. So it affects our recovery because number one, we're not feeling calm. We might be feeling anxious. We might be stewing. Our mind might be worrying, and it's affecting our energy, right? So that's number one. It's such a huge thing. It's probably something that I hear more than anything else. Karin, I'm just so tired. And so one of the things that I try to do is look at all the ways that we can recoup some of our energy so that we can preserve this precious commodity so that we've got more of it. There are things that we can control and things that we can't. We can control whether or not we forgive. So keep that in mind as we're going through today's episode, right? So that's number one. How is it affecting our recovery? It's sucking you dry. Whether you realize it or not, it is sucking you dry. Now, number two, we're looking at the link between sweeping those feelings and those emotions under the rug and breast cancer. Now, buckle up, because here's where it gets really interesting. Okay? There is something that I found during my research after going through breast cancer, asking the question, well, why, right? I've always been involved in preventative medicine as a holistic health coach, as somebody that I thought was really healthy. Why did I get breast cancer? And one of the things that I came across, and you may have heard me talk about it before if you're familiar, is the Cancer Personality Checklist by a gentleman by the name of Dr. W. Douglas Brody. You don't need to write it down. I'm going to be sharing a resource with you today. But if we look at some of the things that are on this personality checklist, these characteristics, now Dr. Brody studied for almost 3 decades cancer patients. He was an integrative cancer therapist, and he looked at personality traits that were common amongst people with cancer. This is not just exclusively breast cancer. But I will tell you that with the hundreds and hundreds of women that I've spoken with, this hits the nail on the head. It really does. And so as I was researching and looking for why did I get cancer, I came across this and I kind of went, whoa. Well, this makes sense. And it connected so many dots for me. And I have a suspicion that it's going to do that for you today. So hang out with me as I go through just some of them, not all of them with you. I'm also going to be telling you later on where you can get this list, the complete list. So hang out with me and I'll make sure that you can get your hands on that, because it kind of is an aha moment and something that I think is really important. So here are some of the characteristics that are on that checklist. Cancer patients are often people that carry other people's burdens, right? So we're carrying other people's burdens, and sometimes those are burdens that we don't want to be carrying. So we might be angry with people. We might resent people, and we may not offer forgiveness for that. But the forgiveness really is for us, right? Because it's our choice to carry other people's burdens. One of the other personality traits is that many cancer patients have a need to please. And by the way, I just want you to know, I used to be all of these characteristics. All of them, the entire list. It was like reading my personal biography from my life. But not anymore. So I don't want you to listen to this and think that there's nothing you can do. I'm going to be telling you that also in our conversation today. So if you're on live, please pop in, say, and let me know who's on. Say hi. So first of all, carrying other people's burdens, taking on responsibilities that are not your own. A need to please, right? We tend to be people pleasers, which, by the way, often we start out in life as parent pleasers. Did you know that? Often when we go into life and we do everything to try and make everybody happy, and this was me, we grow up with at least one parent who might be authoritative or narcissistic, but we want to please that parent. We're looking for validation. We're looking for somebody to say, I love you. Hi, Lydia. Welcome from colorful Colorado. Beautiful. Very nice. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. So that need to please, but also in that need to please, what happens is we tend to not express how we feel. Because if we express how we feel, we have a fear that it's going to upset the apple cart, right? We're afraid that we're going to upset somebody or say the wrong thing or hurt somebody's feelings. So we don't do that. We suck it up, we sweep it under the rug, and we keep going. So another one is a lack of closeness, often with one or both parents. Often because we're doing everything we can to make that parent happy. They're not expressing, by the way, that we're not making them happy. They're not expressing that we're not loved. We often know that they love us. It's just not what we want. So understand that. So often we have a lack of closeness with one or both parents. Have we forgiven them? Have we forgiven them for the way that they treated us, or perhaps things that they said, or the way that they teased us, or maybe they made us feel like we were an outsider and didn't fit in? That was a bit of my story. I wasn't like everybody else in my family. I was different. I thought differently. And I felt like I was the odd one out. Holding on to anger, resentment, and hostility, right? So often we're talking about characteristics that are common amongst cancer patients. We're talking today about breast cancer specifically. But holding on to those negative, toxic emotions, holding them inside, whether it is directed at ourselves, all of these can be at ourselves, right? Directed at ourselves or at somebody else. Are you angry at somebody and it's not settled, but you've just sucked it up? Do you feel resentment towards somebody, but again, have never said anything and you've just sucked it up because you don't want to rock the boat? You don't want to create conflict. It's another part of it being a people pleaser. We don't like conflict. I don't, right? And I used to do anything I could to avoid it, but that leads to us being resentful. Okay. Maybe you feel like you're barely hanging on. You feel so stressed out that it's like, what is just going to push you over the edge? And often, again, part of the Cancer Personality Checklist by Dr. Brody, often experience an especially stressful event up to 48 months prior to your diagnosis. And it feels like the straw that breaks the camel's back. Why? Because we're not expressing how we're feeling. And so therefore it stacks, right? It goes here and then there's more and then there's more and then there's more. And it's like the volcano that explodes because you just can't keep it inside anymore. But that for so many of us is the catalyst for us for the cancer cells just being receptive to growth. We can't handle it anymore. Our immune system has had enough. Now, as I'm saying this, please understand, it is not your fault that you got cancer. Never your fault, no matter what. I didn't know this. Did you know all of this prior to getting cancer? I'm thinking probably not, right? If you had, you might have chosen to do some different things. And we're going to talk about that in a minute, right? And the last thing that is the link between us sweeping it under the rug and not saying anything, not expressing our feelings, not doing anything, and breast cancer is that we have a hard time resolving conflicts. Because we don't like conflict. We want to run away from conflict. And so what happens when we're trying to avoid conflict is that we don't have conversation, which might calm things down. Right? So those things, they're all on the Cancer Personality Checklist. It's created and studied by Dr. W. Douglas Brody. I'm going to tell you how to get this checklist at the end of our video today. So hang out with me for just a little bit longer because the best bit's coming, right? What do we do, Karin? Okay, you're telling me all of this. Now, what do I do with it? Now, if you know anything about me, I want you to know that I'm never going to leave you hanging, ever. That's not the way I roll around here. I am always going to give you some tangible things that you can start doing, right? That are realistic for no matter what stage you're in your cancer journey. And so today we're going to talk about 3 steps to start forgiving. And first, we got to start with that little bit of an honesty check, a call in with yourself without judgment. And this is the key here, without judgment. It just is. It just is. And so, like I said, it's not your fault that you got cancer. Not your fault. So I invite you to ask and get honest with yourself. Take a piece of paper and get it all out. Do a brain dump. We call it a brain dump. And say, what am I holding on to? What am I holding on to? A grudge? Words that you wanted to say but didn't? Feeling invalidated, unloved, disrespected by loved ones who just don't get you? Or weren't capable of giving you what you wanted and deserved, but you haven't yet forgiven them? Perhaps a decision that you made that you now regret or wish you'd made differently. Right? And be real with yourself. Be honest with yourself about what is eating you up. And it is, whether you realize it or not, but it is. And a huge part of being emotionally prepared to get unstuck and move forward in life, period, but especially as we're looking to recover after breast cancer, is forgiveness. Forgiving yourself for what you didn't know in the past is key to our recovery and our healing. And so often when we're forgiving, we automatically think about forgiving others. And maybe as you're doing that brain dump, you're saying, okay, this one is others. You can put a name next to who you need to forgive. I think that's even more powerful. And put your name next to the one, or just draw a heart next to ones where you get to forgive you. Okay? Because forgiving yourself for what you didn't know in the past is key. Right? And if we want to heal our mind, body, and soul, which I believe are all connected, we need to forgive yourself for the decisions you made in the past that brought you to this point today. There are some that I look back and say, well, probably would do that differently now. But the decision's made. I'm not going to stew on it. I'm not going to use my precious energy for something that I can't change. What can I do? Forgive. Forgive. And so offer yourself grace. Had you known better, you may have made a different choice. You may have made a different choice. Forgive yourself, not just once, again and again and again, as many times as it takes to find peace. Let me say that again, because I really want you to take this in. And if you need to, write it down. Or hop on over to the blog. Everything's written there. So it's karin.maestro.com/blog. Forgive yourself, not just once, again and again and again, as many times as it takes to find peace. And it goes the same for forgiving others, right? Because forgiveness is not only about others, it's about yourself too. It's about both. And it's truly the only way to really let go. So ask yourself today, without judgment, what are you holding on to? And I invite you to think about Because as I'm saying that, I'm getting this image, right, of forgiveness. I'm taking off this heavy winter coat. And the lightness that I'm feeling of letting go, of not having to carry that with me anymore. I know that my whole body, my soul is going to thank me for that. And yours will too. So think about forgiveness as that, something that you get to let go. I think of Elsa now from Frozen. I'm going to have that song in my head forever. Let it go, let it go. I won't sing. Don't worry. You don't want to hear me singing. But we need to let it go. We can't change what's happened in the past. So either we get to forgive and let it go or not and hold on to it and let it suck you dry and hold you back from you moving forward in life and reaching your potential, which I know that you deserve. No matter what, you deserve it. Okay? So let me just recap what we talked about today, right? We talked about how forgiveness affects your recovery. Number one is your energy. 100%, because where our mind goes, our energy flows. Number two, the link between sweeping things under the rug, not forgiving, not dealing with them, kind of hanging on to them and stewing on them, and breast cancer. And we talked about 6 ways from the Cancer Personality Checklist that show that those things that we do when we're sweeping things under the rug are linked to breast cancer. And so if you're interested in doing things that could help lower your risk for recurrence, which I don't know about you, but that's a big driving factor for me in decisions I make in my life. This drives so many of my decisions these days. It really does, because I know, especially having gone through a major stressful thing prior to getting diagnosed, I know the impact that had. And so I know that forgiving affects recovery when you can let go. Okay. And the last thing we talked about was the 3 steps that you can take today to start forgiving so that you can begin this next stage of your life by letting go of what no longer serves you, letting go of that big, heavy winter jacket that you don't want to carry around with you anymore. Right? So, as I promised, you want to get your hands on this checklist. I think we all need to see this. It's something that, as long as you promise not to blame yourself for getting cancer, because it's not your fault. Okay? You didn't know this prior to getting diagnosed. So to get your hands on this Cancer Personality Checklist, simply, I like to make it easy, drop a me below while you're watching this video, wherever that might be, or you can pop on over to Instagram at Karin Dell, it's Karin Dell 34. Follow me and then send me a direct message. And I will just say, Karin, can I get my checklist, please? And I will send that right over to you. Nothing to sign up for. Like I said, I got you. I will see that in the group. I will send you a message and you will get that. I'll send it right over to you in a direct message, okay? It's so helpful in just framing the things that we get to change. It's so much more than what we eat and exercise. And yes, those things are important. You're never going to find that I'm saying not. But what I've discovered is it's the mindset. It's how we're managing stress and anxiety in our life that truly, truly make the difference. Okay? Because once we shift this, when we shift our thoughts, then our results and our actions change. But they follow our thoughts. So we have to change our thoughts first. Okay? All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching today. Lydia, pleasure to meet you. Liza, great to see you. I will make sure that you get that checklist. And for anybody else that's catching, you got it, Lydia. You are over on Instagram. I will figure out how to get hold of you. And if you could pop over to Instagram, you're on YouTube. Are you on Instagram, Lydia? Just pop in yes or no. Because I don't think I can send you a direct message through YouTube. That's why I'm asking. But I want to make sure that you get this list because it was truly the game changer for me. You're not. Okay. I will figure out how to get you that thing. I'll see what I can do. But if you don't hear from me, then I have your email. Well, look at that. Okay. Then I will look for you in my email. No, thank you for letting me know that. I have so many people on my email. I don't know everybody there personally. I will take a look for that, Lydia, and make sure that you get that. And thank you guys for watching. Do you have any questions before we finish up today? Was this a little bit of a light bulb moment for you guys in making connections that you didn't know existed? I know for me, the more I've explored this cancer personality checklist, the more I realize how it's a much bigger factor than anybody realizes. And so that's why this forgiveness piece comes in. And I think most of us have some forgiveness to do, whether it's ourselves or others, right? I mean, I'm speaking tomorrow in a breast implant illness event, and I could easily say I need to forgive myself for getting breast implants originally and getting sick. I've done that. I've done that work. Yeah, how to change thinking in order to believe in new thinking. How do we do that? That's what I teach in my coaching programs and in my workshops, because that's the catalyst to change all of this. So if you're interested, Lydia, I'm happy to have a chat and see what would be the best fit for you. I have a great new workshop out that goes a lot into our thinking, our trauma responses, letting go of things that we can't control. And that's the Craze to Calm workshop. You can find out about that over at my website, karin.maestro.com, or if you're on my email list, like you say, Lydia, then you'll be hearing about it. It's a game changer. It's really affecting immediately how people are changing their thoughts. And so when we can change our thoughts, then we can change our actions. And so the thoughts have to come back. This is why so often we struggle with, I know I need to make changes. Why aren't I doing the things I know I ought to be doing? If you've ever said that, right? And then we beat ourselves up because we're not doing it, because we know what we ought to be doing, but we're not doing it. It's because of all of these things like forgiveness, used to focusing our attention on everybody else. And we haven't learned this new way of thinking yet. But here's the good news. I've done it, therefore so can you. Right? There's nothing special about me. I am no different other than I've had a little bit more experience and education in this, and I've taken people through a proven process to help them get results, to change the way of thinking. And that's where we get to focus on this. And this gives us a reason why. Why is this important? Well, because if these things are on here, I don't want to do them anymore. It's plain and simple for me. And so I want you to know everything that I know too. All right. So I hope that that's helpful. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your questions, your interaction. I will make sure that those of you that are on live with me right now will get this cancer personality checklist. And for those of you who are not on live and are catching the replay, feel free to either drop a me below where you're watching this video or hop on over to Instagram at KarinDell34. Follow me and send me a message. And I say follow me because it puts your message in a different mailbox for me where I'll actually see it versus a hidden one where I won't. So follow me first and then send me a message. Okay? Thank you, guys. Have an amazing week. I will be back next Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, with a very special friend with me. My dear friend Stacy Stone will be joining me, and we are going to be redefining the word strong. Ooh. Yeah. We had a cool conversation the other day about, and if you've ever been thinking, I'm fed up of being the strong one, it's too tiring, it's exhausting, I'm fed up. But perhaps you don't know an alternative. We're going to be redefining strong for you next week. So join us next Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern. I'll have a cup of tea. I missed out on that today. I'm going to go make one now, and I hope you do too. Have an amazing week, and I'll see you next week. Stay well, stay calm, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.